What's up, chess heads? Thanks for watching. I am excited to bring you a little how-to on creating and practicing and revising your own PGN file using lichess and listudy. I was so excited when I realized how easy it is to get started. I was able to create a brand new repertoire for myself for white, and that has been fantastic for me. As I'll talk about here in a minute, one of the best ways that it's helped me is it's provided a great vehicle for me to reframe my losses and bad play as pivotal steps to chess mastery, and that has helped me keep the right mindset and the right mood to keep going. Okay, one of the things I want to point out to you right now before we go any further is that working with your own PGN file is absolutely key. This is advice that I heard from Grandmaster Avtik Gregorian from Chess Mood. Their site's awesome. You should check it out. But it also jives with what I've learned about journaling and writing out answers to questions in general. So one of my favorite ideas in this branch of neuroscience is this concept called the Council of the Mind. Basically that there's so many different emotions and knowledge and experience and interests and concerns bouncing around in our head that it's pretty much like we have different people in our brains. So in order to best understand what's happening to you or what the next move ought to be, you want to consider all of those the same way you might work on a team with other people. So you want to encourage everybody to have their say, consider what they're saying, and at the end of the day, work together to come up with one understanding, one move, at least what the next move is going to be and what the long-term plan is going to be. And when you do that in your PGN file, this is going to set you up to have a very positive feedback loop. And you can see that play out in some of my recent gameplay footage. It's like when I lose or when I don't play well, even if I win, but I wasn't sure of the moves in the opening, I'll go back and, I just want to dive into that analysis and see, is this somewhere where I didn't, play the way I had planned to? And if so, what was I looking at? And are there notes that I can add to my PGN file? Or if the opponent's moves just weren't covered in there, see if there's something I can add. And so what that does for me is when I have a loss, rather than thinking oh no, I'm not improving at chess at the rate I thought I would, I will never amount to anything. Everything is bad. Now it just focuses me on how I'm going to use this to improve and make the next step. Okay, so with all that said, let me hop over to lichess and I'll show you how we get started. Okay, so I brought lichess up here for us now. You know what lichess is. They're the best. It's I like them because it's open source and it's free, as in Lee free. No ads, nothing like that. So definitely a great gameplay experience. You can pop over to study, and here there's another great resource. Lots of players putting their studies out there on games, on tactics, on openings, on every every part of the game, imagine. But the ones I'm working on are ones I've created myself, and I've kept them like private or unlisted. So these are just for me. You can create one super easily. You just go here and say, put a name for it. You can pick a flare if you want. And I think this is what I did to make sure like it's just mine. And so once you create it, it's super easy to get started. I mean, you can literally just start playing moves and see what are common moves that people will play, and what does the engine think are the best moves and why. Now, to me, one of the key tips is that to find how my opponents are likely to play against me, I set up my database to be include only games played on lichess from people about my rating. And I used to have a lot higher on there, but when you are just 1600, why not make life easy for yourself? There's a lot of moves in this database that are the most common and are not good. So that helps me plan to get to an edge. But then I usually will look at, you see how they give you like the percentages here. So when you reach this line, 27%, the people playing rapid or slower, or about 1600, will play E6. Well, I also go back then. So I'll go down this line, and then, for my moves, I will use either the engine analysis and choose from one of these, or I will go into the Masters database and see how do the pros play it. Or, you could go into the lichess database and switch to how do the best players on here play it. Or if you have like a favorite player, you can go there and see how they play it. Right now, I guess I have me in there, and you can see all of my losses. Sweet. So just gonna set this back to where I had it. That is about it. I will say that in order to get an understand, when I went to pick a new repertoire, I did watch a few videos. I'm building one for basically playing the Queen's Gambit, and so I watched the lectures from Ben Feingold, who's awesome and hilarious, and I watched some of the videos from GM Igor Smirnov from Remote Chess Academy. Both of those guys have a ton of free content on YouTube, and you can check it out. But I mean, you can do the same, whatever opening you want to play. There's a ton of free content out there. It will help you understand the theory behind it and choose the first few moves. And then after that, I mean, you can pick your moves from, like I said, the Masters database or the engine. Now, there's always caveats with picking your moves from the engine, right? Because the engine will play stuff that is just, you really need to play a very particular line, and it might look very unnatural and not be something that's easy for you to remember. So when I'm going through, I have the engine set to show me 5 different moves. I will look through the rest of the line that it shows up in the top right, or I'll play through it and try to understand like why it does the engine like that move. And if it's a series of moves I'm never going to remember, I just don't pick it. Another thing is that sometimes I will pick moves that are not the best engine move, but lead me to a position that my other lines, will go to. So if you're getting into the same position more often, you become familiar with it, you master it more quickly that way. Okay, so basically you'll go through and choose your lines in here. At some point, you need to stop. Now there are some lines here. Since I have mine set to 1600, there are some lines that just end in checkmate, but most of them for me will end in I do usually have an advantage of at least a point on here, but that's something I can reasonably expect because, I am 1600 and the people I play against, like me, are going to make mistakes. Something else you want to keep in mind for where to end the lines is you might look for a position where you have clear attacking plans, or you're otherwise very comfortable with it, and there are many moves you could make next to maintain the advantage. If there's only one move that you can make next, you probably just want to go ahead and add that to your line. You'll see in a minute, it's very quick to practice hundreds of moves a day on listudy. Okay, so with that said, I want to show you how you can import your PGN you've created for yourself on lichess over to listudy and get practicing. So I have listudy up, and I'm it's listudy.org, and same deal. These guys are free, open source, and no ads or anything like that. Some other great resources here for building visualization. I think I'll do a separate video on how I've been using them. But for now, let's go over and create a new study. And here you can name it whatever you want. Just throw a name in there now. It makes you put in some notes. Yeah. These super awesome moves. And I don't know if it forces you to do this, but again, you can keep this study private. And right here, you're just going to grab the URL. I think it's straight from the browser, but just to be sure, yeah, grab this study URL and put it in there. The way you can do it is you can upload a PGN file, which is cool. And here we go. So the default here is that it gives you the arrows until you've played a line twice, and then you see there's no arrows on it. And it does give you a little progress bar. We're super through it already because there's no we didn't really put a lot of moves in there. I just wanted to show you guys what I'm doing. Okay, so now I want to show you what happens if we are making a change to the study. So let's say something new happened in our game, and played this, and maybe they played a little bishop before. We decided we should block it and attack it like that. And we want to practice our new lines. So again, we're just going to copy out the URL, come down here on listudy, click edit, paste it in there, click save, and boom. Now, you'll notice that the arrows are back and all of our progress has been wiped out, which there are advantages and disadvantages to that. So, like, one of the things I like to do after I make, if I know I have a line pretty well memorized, I have this chapter in here pretty well memorized. If I update it, or just come back to play, I will come down and turn the hints off entirely. And this way, when you'll see there's no arrows here. It's just kind of testing me now to see, do I remember these moves I just put in? And those look pretty simple, but I have just hundreds and hundreds of moves put into my main PGN file. So I will go through a few hundred moves here every day, commonly a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes at night. And that is so much more valuable. Like, spacing it out there is so much more useful to you than just sitting down and trying to put in hours, one day a week, because your brain is actually growing new pathways to remember what you're consistently challenging it to do. And it does its best growing when you're sleeping or resting. So this is a phenomena that I saw in learning musical instruments, is that I could sit there and try to play a riff and not be able to do it, and then put it down and come back to it, a few hours later, but even better, to come back to it the next day. And for some reason, I'm able to play it. And it's like magic. So I think that's part of what they call, spaced repetition. So you want to do that. The other thing you want to do is turn off the arrows and see if you can figure out what your move is. And what this is going to do for you is it highlights gaps in your understanding of the underlying theory. So when you find those gaps, then you can just look at it again, make sure you understand it. I also like to then add notes. Any of the arrows that you draw in lichess studies will show up when you import it. You can also come down here and add notes on the moves, why you're making them or not making other moves that you thought it might be when you were practicing with the arrows off. So that's it. Go forth and practice that. I really think, practicing your PGN file is something that's, a daily practice for me. And I think it's helped tremendously. So give it a shot. Let me know about that in the comments or any of your thoughts on the various topics we got into on how it relates to neuroscience, because I'm always interested to get in conversations about that stuff. And I thank you for watching.